Now, you said you realized how many effects city government can have on, the day-to-day lives of residents in the city. But do you think that most citizens realize that? And how do you work to keep citizens in District 7 informed and involved?
No, I don't think a lot of people make that connection. And a lot of times I think people, when you talk about local politics, they like to talk about loftier aspirations,
Right.
Like at the state and the federal level, and bring the troops home type of thing. And one of the things that's fascinating to me is that it doesn't matter how lofty your ideals. If you hit the same pothole coming in and out of your garage every single day, your horizons just sort of like focus down to that one little thing.
Right.
And so the way that I kind of look at it is if we can facilitate in fixing that pothole, then maybe their horizon expands back out. But one of the things that I've done in the council office, except for the month of April, for the last 2.5 years, every month an emailed newsletter has gone out to over 1,000 constituents.
Okay.
And so that's one of the ways that I've kept communicating and making sure that folks know what's going on in the district.
Do you think that, do you have a lot of response from constituents when you've been working with Kathleen?
We have a hugely active
Okay.
constituency, particularly in West Wash Park. And in West Wash Park, they have it's sort of an activist tree, so we can let a few of the activists know, and at the drop of a hat, they can have 100 people at a meeting.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Okay. So, what do you think are the top issues still facing the district that you would like to address if elected?
Well, number one is the infill development. And the way that I see that is there's been this sort of this clash going on between neighborhood folks, but it's been framed as a property rights argument versus neighborhood character preservation, and I think that's sort of a false dichotomy. And I think that we can address the issues that are of concern regarding infill development, because there are some serious impacts. There's construction noise. There is the damage that construction causes to the roadbed, the alley, the sidewalk, and the adjacent housing, the trees. And I think if we can address some of those impacts, we can move away from this very loaded conversation. I'm not even going to call it a conversation. It's a volatile conversation. And if we can assuage some of those concerns on both sides, then we can step back and we can talk about what exactly is neighborhood character, because everybody's going to have a different perspective about it.
Right.
So I think that's the number one issue.
Okay.
And tailing on to that is we have the luxury of having that conversation here east of Broadway. West of Broadway, we don't have the luxury of that conversation. So I think if we could provide incentives so that the west side could see some of this investment, and I don't know what that is. Is it private development chases public infrastructure investments?
Is it west of Broadway is not in District 7?
It is in District 7.
Okay, so
and
why
they're not seeing the investment impacts because they're not seeing the investment.
Okay.
And there's some, it has some of the best views of downtown of anywhere, because there's Ruby Hill. It's a hill.
Right.
Athmar Park has a hill. Athmar Park has Houston Lake Park, which is a beautiful amenity. Ruby Hill Park is a beautiful amenity, and we could use some investment over there, and that's what I would like to see. That's probably part B of the number one issue.
Okay.
And then graffiti.
Well, let's talk about graffiti for a minute, because I know it's been a really big issue everywhere.
Right.
What kind of changes have there been lately, and what kind of changes do you see happening in the future as far as policy, enforcement, community involvement?
Well, there's definitely been an explosion of graffiti, and that's across the board, citywide. So it's across District 7, and the city has had a graffiti task force that it put together, or it commenced in October of 2006. And just recently, some draft recommendations came forward from the subcommittees, and I haven't had a chance to look at them yet. So I would be interested in looking at those prior to making comments. But I do know from the police officer's perspective, I have a great working relationship with District 4, Police District 4, which covers most of Council District 7, that their major concern is sentencing, and that we need to make some changes in either in the laws or in the judiciary or whatever, so that there's actually some sentencing of graffiti perpetrators. Because occasionally, and it's very rare, but occasionally they'll catch folks in the act.
Right.
And it's not just, 15-year-olds. I mean, I think the last time they caught someone, they caught him at a bus stop. He's 35 years old. So, I mean, but at any rate, the officers are still filling out the paperwork while the perpetrator is on his way home.
Right.
And that's of concern. So I think that we could look to more creative sentencing options.
Okay. All right, Julie, is there anything else you want to add? Any message you want to send out to voters in District 7?
Yeah, I mean, as you mentioned, one of your questions was, well, how will it be different if I'm elected from what I've been doing for the last 3 years? And I said, on Monday nights, I'll be voting.
Right.
And I think that's what sets me apart from the other candidates, is that I'm the one with the most knowledge and experience of District 7. I know all the issues, all the players, what's going on. And I can provide that continuity from Kathleen's term to my term. And so I think of all the candidates running, I'm definitely the expert on District 7. And that's kind of the message that I would like people to take home and understand.
Okay. All right. Well, thanks for taking the time to talk
Thank
with me
you
today.
for taking the time to ask me.